My name is Sue Willard, and I am the president-elect of the Association of Nurses in AIDS Care. I'm also a faculty member at Rutgers University. What is important for this talk is that we as nurses have a great opportunity for education that we all know for our patients. And we also establish those relationships. We do a lot of adherence counseling. And as I thought about this talk and what I would say to open up, this morning when I turned on my computer and went onto one of my email accounts and saw this wonderful stuff downloaded to buy different drugs here and there, it really struck me that, especially in this economy, how patients may be tempted, especially if they don't have any prescription plans or any other kind of insurance, that they will do whatever they can do to get medications. And I think that, therefore, this talk is very timely. I'd like to be able to turn it over to Dr. Marv Shepard, who is the director of the Center for Pharmacoeconomic Studies and also is chairman of the Pharmacy Administration Division at the University of Texas at Austin's College of Pharmacy. He serves as president of the Partnership for Safe Medicine. Dr. Shepard has many research interests and has examined the policies related to drug importation and re-importation, especially from Mexico, as well as other countries, the use of drug anti-counterfeiting strategies and techniques for monitoring prescription drug diversion. His research and expertise on this topic have been featured widely. Most notable is with NPR, with Newsweek, the Wall Street Journal, as well as prevention magazines, which many of our patients may read. He earned a Bachelor of Science in Biology from Michigan Technological University, a Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy from Ferris State University, and a Master's from University of Rhode Island, a PhD for Purdue University. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Marv Shepard.
Well, thank you, Suzanne. Very kind. How you all doing? I hope everybody's doing fine. I'm kind of a laid-back presenter, and so I'm just going to sit back at my desk here and go through these slides. Some of them I'll go through quickly, and you can look at them later if you like, and look at the recordings, and others you can take some notes of what you want to use. But Dr. Willard is absolutely right. We're talking about education of patients, and more and more patients are using, I would say, far-out websites to get their pharmaceuticals, and it's causing some problems in not only in their therapies, but in a lot of people's therapies on medication. Now, if I get the slides to advance. So what I'm going to do today, I was going to talk about a landscape of pharmaceuticals, the landscape of counterfeit pharmaceuticals, a definition, what do they mean by that, what we talk about with drug diversion, drug importation problems, the problems with online purchasing. Maybe we'll get into some overt and covert and forensic drug packaging markings, and maybe some track and trace techniques that could be used, and what's going to be coming down the road, I think. And then most importantly, I want to try to get to and spend some time on is strategies for nurses and healthcare practitioners can use to protect yourselves against counterfeit medications. Many strategies out there. First thing, let's talk about the definition of a counterfeit drugs. I would be amiss if I didn't say there's not some controversy over a definition. There is a lot of worldwide controversy over this definition. But the definition I'm going to use is going to be the definition from the World Health Organization. And it basically says a counterfeit medication is one which is deliberately and fraudulently mislabeled with respect to identity and or source. The key words in this one, it is deliberately done that way, and it's fraudulently mislabeled with respect to identity or source. And it can apply to both brand name and generic products. Many generic products have been counterfeited. Because in this country, 75 to 78% of all drugs dispensed are generic drugs right now. So they're a big section of the revenues coming into pharmacies and making money off of products right now. Counterfeit products can have the correct ingredients. Some do have the correct ingredients, maybe the wrong quantities of the correct ingredient. Some have the wrong ingredients. And about a third of them have no active ingredient in it at all, and many of them has insufficient quantities of active ingredient and also have fake packaging that goes along with it. So there's a variety of counterfeit drugs. This is not a U.S. problem. This is a worldwide problem. So we got over 100 countries have reported a problem with counterfeit drugs in 2010. And most people used to think it was just the lifestyle drugs, you know, the diet pills, the hair loss pills, the erection dysfunction drugs, but it's not. 19 out of the top-selling 25 drugs have been found to be counterfeited, including a lot of HIV and AIDS treatments. Excuse my spelling of treatments there, I forgot a T. As I pulled up these headlines and I was putting this together for you folks, and it shows that counterfeit AIDS drug hits the market. Interpol sees $6.5 million in counterfeit HIV/AIDS. So it's not only in the United States, but it's all the way across the world that these products, because they're so expensive, have got the attention of some crooks and criminals and bad guys that are out there in the real world distributing drugs. So it's nasty, whatever they are. So these guys are well organized. Criminals, these drug criminals are very well organized. They are driven by greed. They don't care about your health, my health, or your patient's health. All they care about is show me the money. Many of them are felons. Many of them have ties with organized crime. Many of them have ties with narcotic cartels like in Mexico. And some of them even have ties with terrorist organizations. So this is a tightly knit group, and they're spread all over the world that seem to communicate well with one another, whether they're in the computer business or whether they're in the drug business or the distribution business. They seem to get along well, and they seem to find ways to get the product in patients' hands and make a lot of money at the same time. So some counterfeit drugs were made in the United States. We've got examples of Procrit, Epogen, and Botox have been made in the United States and have illegally entered into our drug distribution system. The Botox has been found in clinics, physician clinics, counterfeit Botox. Matter of fact, it was found this last year in some physician clinics. Epogen and Procrit got into major drug distribution systems, including chain drug stores in the United States. However, most fake drugs are made outside the United States and are illegally entered the United States and not made in the United States. They're smuggled into the system some way or another way. In addition, the biggest problem we have right now is counterfeit drugs are entering directly into U.S. homes. They're not going through any drug distribution system. And in fact, I refer to this as the counterfeiters have given up on trying to get the counterfeit drugs in the drug distribution system. What they're doing is now they set up their own distribution system, and it's called foreign internet pharmacy sites. And I refer to them as rogue foreign internet pharmacy sites. Don't get me wrong, some of these fake drugs have gotten into a distribution system and they still continue to get that way, but they're not as plentiful as they were 10 years ago. Over the last year, we've had 109 different countries reporting counterfeit drugs, and some of these the counterfeit drugs have no active ingredients. I said about 30%. 20% have incorrect quantities of the active ingredients. 21% have the wrong active ingredient. The most recent one was Ally, a diet drug, over-the-counter drug. It had the wrong active ingredient. It was distributed across many pharmacies in the United States. Some have the right active ingredient but fake packaging. What I mean on that one is that quite often the counterfeiters will buy a package, or say for the drug would be for 10 milligrams, and they will change the label on it up at the 40 milligrams or 80 milligrams. So they will upcode the label to get a higher amount of money for it, and basically to do it for greed. But since it's deliberately and fraudulently packaged that way, it is a counterfeit medication. Some of them have some major impurities or contaminants in them, lead being a big one, coming from China. So it's estimated that a third of them don't have any active ingredients, and this seems to be a growing trend. At one time, that it was about 50% of them had no active ingredient, but it's gone down, and Jeff Grant over at the Commerce Department said the reason why they're having more and more counterfeit drugs with active ingredients is because they want repeat business. So they may have active ingredient in it, so they may have the wrong quantity of active ingredient, but they just want to be able to get people to continue to buy from them one way or another. So it requires a worldwide coordinated response from healthcare practitioners, from law officials, from government officials. It requires both private and international government efforts. It requires added resources. And it's not an easy task getting control of these people because they always have troubles with who's got jurisdiction over them and how we're going to control it. It's a massive problem. So the countries producing or having problems with fake drugs, the two countries that are the biggest producers are China and India. Brazil's got a huge problem with it, and so does Mexico, Pakistan, Indonesia. Up to 20% of the drugs in pharmacies in Russia, depending on the republic that you're in, can be counterfeit. Cambodia, Colombia, Nigeria, Southeast Asia countries, anywhere from 10 to 40%. I was in Brazil this last fall, and I got a first-hand look at the amount of counterfeit drugs that Brazil's having. They had confiscated that year 400 tons of counterfeit drugs come across from Bolivia. It's a massive amount of troubles that they've got there. Hopefully they're going to get it under control, hopefully, soon. I'm going to just give you some numbers here, and some of them are from the Pharmaceutical Security Institute. The Pharmaceutical Security Institute is an organization of pharmaceutical manufacturers. And these people collect information on manufacturing thefts. They collect information on big drug diversion cases, and they collect cases on counterfeit drugs. Drug diversion for PSI, or Pharmaceutical Security Institute, is illegally diverted or sold to another country. I'll give an example. For example, a U.S. manufacturer will give a lot of product to an African country, and then the African country or somewhere along the distribution system in the African country will sell it or move the product out of that country to another country for profit. It was intended by one of the manufacturers to be used in that country for HIV and AIDS, but the product was diverted. And in fact, the two cases of it was diverted to the European country, and then from there I got into the European market. But that's diversion. It gets outside of the normal distribution system, not what its intended purpose was. PSI has an incidence reporting system. It records the thefts, the diversion, and the counterfeits. But I'd say 70 to 80% of all the incidents reported here are counterfeit drugs. They're the most frequent of the diversion cases. Another definition of diversion, though. I gave you one from one country to another country. Another diversion is consumers selling their products when they leave a clinic, like a U.S. clinic or Medicaid clinic. They'll leave the clinic, and instead of using the drug for themselves, they'll turn around and sell it to diverters. And that product could be sold back to another pharmacy or another wholesaler, or could be diverted into the gray or the black market area. Drug diversion is commonly referred to as a gray market, and right now with a drug shortage in the United States, we're seeing more and more gray market diversion of pharmaceuticals coming into play along the line, somewhere from the hospitals or the clinics. The trend in incidents, you can see that, as I said, 70% of these incidents are counterfeit drug trade. And in 2010, it was 2,054 incidents were reported worldwide by the PSI Institute, the Pharmaceutical Security Institute. You can see the increasing trend. It doesn't seem to slow down much, although from 9 to 10 it slowed down a little bit. But it was increasing a little over 20% every year for a long time. Here's an example. The picture on the right shows a steamroller rolling over fake drugs found in East China's province. China's got a huge problem with counterfeit drugs. And most of them are in genital urinary tract area, anti-infectives, cardiovascular, and central nervous system. They involve both fake packaging and fake drugs themselves. I'm having trouble getting the slide to go forward here. The counterfeit drugs reported dosage forms are mostly tablets and capsules. About 90% of all the counterfeit drugs found have been tablets and capsules. Although injectables are not ruled out, matter of fact, it's easier to counterfeit an injectable than it is a tablet and capsule. Example, it was a counterfeit drug found in South Florida where they just used tap water for the injectable products. So it's fairly simple to do. Just copy the label and copy the vials and reproduce some injectables. Easy to do. The top 10 countries reporting a counterfeit incidents is China and India, Peru, Russia. Japan's right in there, South Korea. United States in 2007 had 63 incidents of counterfeiting drugs. I believe in 2010 it was 65 incidents in the United States. So they're pretty high. China's got the biggest problem because they just about counterfeit everything in China, but the biggest problem with fake pharmaceuticals. But you got to realize that law officials play a role in that. The stronger your law officials work and united, the more counterfeiters you'll find. I threw these pictures in there that show you how sterile these facilities are. They're not the best environments to making pharmaceuticals. And big drug manufacturing in China, one in Colombia, and one in Mombasa. Pretty nasty facilities in making pharmaceuticals. The drugs found in the United States are the common ones, but Lipitor, Sorostin, which is used in HIV and AIDS, was counterfeited. Neupogen, Epogen, Zyprexa, Viagra is the #1 counterfeited drug worldwide in the Western world. Anti-infectives and anti-malarial agents are the #1 counterfeited drug in developing countries. Tamiflu is counterfeited, Ambien, Orthoevral, contraceptives counterfeited. So there's been quite a few different types of counterfeit pharmaceuticals found across the world. I was wrong. It wasn't 64. It was 65. There's cases in 2010. There was 72 FDA counterfeit drug cases. So it continues to go up in the United States. But I'd be cautious of these numbers because a counterfeit drug, let's say a new case shows up in San Francisco, then a case find, and 2 days later we see a case in Kansas City, then a case in Miami. They could be all the one case, even though they start out being 3 separate counterfeit cases. They could find out that it's the same counterfeiter, but just the distribution system working. So the numbers do fluctuate back and forth, but it looks like there's 72 in 2010. I throw this up here because I like to point out that drug importation, especially diverted exported products, drug counterfeiting, and prescription drug diversion seem to be all linked together. Now, I had an FBI agent tell me one time that if you find a drug diverter, most likely that drug diverter is also involved in drug counterfeiting. Because drug diverters usually have a demand on their products, and when they get a short on demand, they'll go to the counterfeiter to make the product. Or they don't get short. If they get short on supply, they'll go to the counterfeiter to make the product. So you get, they're all linked together. And if they can't find the product in the United States, they'll go to drug importation to try to find the product across borders and either smuggle it into the United States or whatever they have to do to get the product in, or go outside the United States to buy the product. So all the diverters are all greed and profit oriented. The gray market consists of counterfeit drugs, stolen drugs, some legitimate drugs, got some drug samples that are stolen, got buyback drugs from street buyers and Medicaid and Medicare patients. As I mentioned, they get repackaged foreign drugs that gets into the gray market and on the market for a lot of different ways. So they deal with a lot of different products, diverters, in the gray market. Get the slide to advance. As I said, stolen drugs. The biggest rage right now going on is stealing pharmaceuticals. Big trucks are being stolen. Big freight trucks are being stolen. Eli Lilly had a warehouse broken into and stolen. They lost $75 million in Enfield, Connecticut, and it supplies the gray market. The big truck freights, there were 49 truck freights stolen last year, and the average freight truck stolen with pharmaceuticals is about $3.8 million. Other diversion schemes, as I mentioned, consumers sell the drugs back to diverters on the streets. Some of these are doctor shoppers. They just go along, they pretend they got the disease, they'll get the prescription written, they'll get it filled, and they'll turn around and sell it to a diverter. Many of these are covered by third-party payers, so they end up paying a copay, and then they'll turn around and sell it to diverters to make money. Physicians have been implicated in these schemes, and sometimes the consumers will even trade the drugs for other contraband products along the line. Well, now, what creates this? Well, it's all kinds of things. You got weak regulatory control in some countries. You get an erratic supply of medications, as we're finding a lot right now. You got big price differential between countries. We got extended unregulated markets in underdeveloped countries. We got a lack of intellectual property protection or patent protection in some countries. You just feel that they can copy anything they'd like to copy. And then many countries don't have the people nor the legal process of which to put a stop to it. And the weak penalties for convicted counterfeiters is another problem in some countries. So the product on the right was a counterfeit drug that we picked up out of Mexico. Didn't have any active ingredient in it at all. Fascinating product. So we got drug diversion, we got criminals and felons, we've got healthcare practitioners, including pharmacists and physicians, have been involved in these diversion schemes, and we got theft. So it's a whole barrage of crime going on in the pharmaceutical industry. So most counterfeiters, people think that they're small little garage operations, but they aren't. Some of them are large international firms, including consortia operations with distribution firms. They also get involved in counterfeiting perfumes, cosmetics, alcohol, and tobacco. They counterfeit a lot of products. There's widespread corruption, threats to politicians, law officials, regulators, and healthcare practitioners. These guys mean business. They're not the nicest people you ever meet, and you don't want to become friends with them either. So how do they get into the drug distribution system? There's a variety of ways they get in here, and I'm not going to go through this slide because it is complicated. But I got another next slide coming up, kind of shows the major ways they get into the United States drug distribution system. It's primarily through wholesalers. That's how they get in. Some of them enter directly into retail pharmacy from the drug diverters, where the pharmacist will buy off the secondary or gray market. But most of the time, if they get into distribution system, it comes from a secondary or some kind of shady wholesaler system that gets out there. I also pointed out on this slide, it's kind of interesting that it's not only the finished product that gets counterfeited. Quite often, the active ingredient product, the API ingredients, end up getting counterfeited, and that's what happened with heparin. It was a counterfeited substandard product out of China coming to the United States. Now, let's go back to this rogue and foreign websites that I mentioned earlier. With more and more people using home computers to purchase pharmaceuticals from foreign vendors, the risk of receiving a counterfeit or substandard drug is really high. The World Health Organization estimates there's about 50-50 chance that you'll get a counterfeit drug by buying off of some of these websites. So they're pretty shaky at the top. And NABP has issued Rogue Online Drug Alert, and National Association of Boards of Pharmacy did a pretty good study with they found over 96% of the 8,000 rogue websites analyzed don't comply with U.S. laws and regulations on pharmaceuticals. So there's a lot of internet outfits out there that are not dispensing FDA-approved drugs or just dispensing substandard pharmaceuticals. So what has the FDA found out about imported drugs? Some may have active ingredients, some may have too little or too much active ingredient, some may have no active ingredients. Some could be expired or have false expiration dates. It's a common practice was to change the label to upcode the expiration date after the product's expired. Some are contaminated, such as the heparin case in the United States. They have been stored at wrong temperatures and under unsafe conditions, being shipped. Some are either fake or counterfeit, as we mentioned. And then the last one here, I believe, is some are fraudulent or inadequately labeled. So, and it could be a product that's withdrawn from the U.S. market for safety reasons, but we could find it on the international market and come in. When we were doing the studies down in Mexico, we found a lot of people buying animal drugs now approved for human use. And they were using them for human use, antibiotics, steroids. So they were animal products being distributed for human use, inappropriately packaged. Remember I said about rogue websites? Here's an example of a rogue website. It's called Global Pharmacy Canada. When you look at it, it looks like it's a Canadian website with the flyers. This is the flyer that they get, and it says it's located in Ontario, Canada. In reality, it's just a mailing address in Ontario, Canada. The pharmacy is not licensed in Ontario at all. It is basically a mailing address, and the prescriptions are received there, and then they're sent to India where they're filled. And I liked in the brochure it states, send us a fax or a copy of the original prescription, or you can send us a copy or picture or the pill bottle label, or send us a detailed pharmacy receipt or invoice, and we'll fill the prescription for you. Many of these rogue websites don't require any prescription at all. And further look at this, I did some look on it. I think there were 86 products on this website, and 56 of them were products that are under patent already. That it was illegal to dispense a generic drug, and they were dispensing a generic drug, as they claimed it. I always put this slide in here because the slide was taken in 2002, but it shows the extent of, this is 1 day's supply of counterfeit Viagra entering Miami International Airport. Each one of those packages in the slide on the right are to a consumer in the United States. They were getting thousands of packages a day in just Miami Airport, plus a lot of other airports. Carson City and JFK and the Chicago airport. How do you know that was counterfeit? Because it was chewable sildenafil Viagra. You don't make a chewable sildenafil. Even on the bottle it says chewable. They even made a sublingual sildenafil, so it's no doubt about it. It was a fraudulent pharmaceutical product. What it's showing is the vast majority of these products coming in the United States from foreign pharmacies are not FDA approved. Many are substandard and mislabeled. In March of 2007, the Obama administration had a working group on counterfeit pharmaceuticals and came up with this report. And it said they want to adopt a track and trace system for pharmaceuticals and related products. I'll explain what a track and trace system is and try to protect the products. So what are the threats? Well, it could be fake. Take with a healthy dose of skepticism, I always say. You never know what the threats are. Many times a counterfeit drug is mixed with the authentic drug. They'll take 500 of the authentic drug and mix it with 500 of the fake drug, and when you look at them, you can't tell them apart. It makes it really difficult to tell if the product is good. These counterfeits are good. I mean, it's very, very difficult to determine what is counterfeit. Here, which one of the picture, which one is the counterfeit Lipitor? Extremely difficult to determine. You have to really study it, and figure it out. This one on the left is the counterfeit. The one on the right is the authentic. Actually, the fake looks better than the authentic drug. which one is a fake Celebrex? It's the same way. I held these in my hand and I couldn't tell them apart. We even weighed them and measured them. We couldn't tell them apart. All kinds of, these guys that know what they're doing. I put this slide in there because I want to show you how cool these people are. This was an anti-inflammatory product found in Colombia. It's called Ponstan. It's like a Tylenol type product. It was made with boric acid, floor wax, and yellow highway paint. So it didn't have any active ingredient. It was pressed into the tablets and placed in 12 packs and distributed across Latin America. You can see how people. The Ortho Ebro patch on the left is the authentic patch, and on the right it kind of looks like a Johnson & Johnson Band-Aid stuck in a baggie. So this counterfeiter was really crude in how he developed it, but it got onto the market and had no active ingredient at all. It's a pretty nasty product at the time. Of course, the adverse effect of that one could last for the 18 or 20 years, depending on how you perceive children. This is the product I mentioned earlier about Ally. It had the wrong active ingredient in it. It contained sibutramine, and when the authentic product did not have sibutramine in it at all. There's no silver bullet to this. There's no best strategy to use, and it's really a complex issue. There's no, FDA is saying you got to use a combination of methods. You can't just use one. At least two type, and maybe a forensic or a target chemical marker within the product, so we can determine whether it's a counterfeit or not. A target is an inert chemical marker, very small quantity. There's no active response at all, and it's very small, but it can be easily spotted by the maker of the pharmaceutical. So the pharmaceutical maker doesn't have to go through a complete spectrum of the product, do an analysis of the product. You can just look for this tag and determine whether the product's real or not real. And they're pretty secret on what the taggants are in products. Sometimes they'll match the tagget up with the packaging marking too. So they put the tagget in the ink of the package printing, and they'll put the tagget in the product too. So it's a fascinating way of doing it. Get the slide to go forward to be nice. Overt package markers are on the marker itself. Most of the common ones are color shifting inks, where you take the packaging and you can see the color change in the inks. Polychromatic inks. Overt ones are holograms. Raised printing is another example of a hologram not being used in combination with it. A lot of products use overt markers. Pfizer uses overt markers on the Viagra packaging, and so it's quite common to use overt markers. The next marker, if we put the slide up here, is a covert marker. Covert marker is one you can't see. Here's an example of a covert marker. This is an overt or hologram marker, but it also has a covert marker inside the hologram. You can see it with special light. You can pick up the covert marker inside, but you've got to have special equipment to bring it up. That hologram was used in anti-malaria products. Sometimes the seals in tamper-proof container tops can be changed colors and produce tamper apparent patterns program. They basically is that if I take off the sealing on the top of the seal of the bottle, it changes the color, so they can't replace it, the product in it, and re-glue the seal. But it changes from a silver to a red, or a red to a silver. Covert markers are the ones you can't see. These are the secret things, like microwires, magnetic threads, invisible inks, hidden computer chips, nano encryption on the box of the bottle, nano encryption on the product. Secrets aren't available to pharmacists or anybody else. They're pretty quiet, and who's access to them. Here's a seal with a chemical marker that takes off the code on the package. It's a revealable covert ink example. As I mentioned before, forensic markers or taggets in the product. FDA has approved lists of taggets in the product, and a tagget can be added to the packaging, labeling, or even the tablet coatings along the line. And this is the nano encryption that's within the product's packaging and within the product's capsule on top of it. And you put all kinds of information in this: batch number, expiration date, pedigree links, manufacturing date. You can put all the information that you can't see with the naked eye. And the last technique is called unit of use packaging. It'll be a while before we go that way, but every package will be in unit of use, meaning a 14-day supply or 30-day supply, instead of buying the packages in huge quantities like we buy now. Get it going. The key right now, when I talk about track and trace, what they want to do is they want to put a license plate number on every package, a unique number on every package that comes out of the manufacturer. And it can either be a barcode or it can be a computer chip. Lot numbers on packaging are not serialized. These are serialized numbers. It's a unique package, a license plate number on each package. And so you can track it through the system, to the wholesaler, to a warehouse, to a pharmacy, to the nursing station, to wherever it is. You could scan it and track and trace the pharmaceutical product all the way through the system to the doctor's office. You could scan it to the clinic, to the HIV/AIDS clinic. And you could double check on a database that this product's authentic or not authentic. So it's a unique system. They have published the standardized numerical identification codes. It's an 8-digit serial number generated by the manufacturer or repackager, and it ties in with the NDC codes on the drug packaging. This is an example here, serialized NDC number. And it will show up in a database, which you can check if you got the right product number or not. Kind of unique way. It's fascinating to see it work. Many countries are way ahead of us on this. Turkey's implemented it already. Some Scandinavian companies have already put it in use. Germany and France have passed legislation for it. Brazil passage was in 2009, requires all products to be serialized by 2012. The only state in the United States that has passed legislation for it is California, and it's supposed to be implemented in 2015. So it'll be a while before it gets started there. It's been delayed to it. There's the 2D, it's two-dimensional or matrix barcodes on the packaging that could be read by just about any reader, scanned into a database in your HIV or AIDS clinics. We're going to skip over limitations of barcodes because there are some limitations with them. I will mention that a lot of packaging has computer chips in them. It is an example of a computer chip embedded in the label of a pharmaceutical product. And this computer chip contains the same amount of information that the barcode does. And it just picks up by a reader, real quick-like, and so you can pick it up, and you don't have to, scan any kind of barcodes over. The RFID, radio frequency identification. It's similar to what you have on your car now when you go through turnpike systems. It picks up a signal and then broadcasts it, and reflects it back that says that you went through the toll gate and they get charged. Well, all packaging with RFID chips will do the same thing, so we can get moving with it. That's a fascinating system. A lot of firms are testing it right now. You can see these pharmaceutical companies are all using it. Pfizer puts an RFID chip on three of the products now to double check and make sure that it's serialized and make sure it's the authentic product. So new things coming up. I wouldn't be surprised that the HIV and AIDS clinics all will have computer systems that read RFID chips and barcodes to make sure. So what are the effective strategies for nurses? Number one, be careful of the good deal. If it appears to be too good to be true, you may have a problem. I think your clinics are just like the clinics in pharmacies or the computer systems. Every morning, pharmacies will receive faxes and emails offering deals on pharmaceuticals. If it's too good of a deal, be really careful. Due diligence is needed to check on all suppliers. Make sure it's an authentic supplier. So be careful of those deals that come through on your computer systems. And they come through in your home computer systems too, in your office computer systems. Big problems with the use of computer systems linking you up to a rogue website. If you're buying from an online pharmacy, look for the VIPPS designation seal on the site. It's a verified internet pharmacy provider site. That's what the things, it's National Association of Boards of Pharmacy issues this accreditation seal. If you're going to buy online for any pharmaceutical, look for the VIPS designation seal. It will be on the front, usually the front page of the site where you're buying the drug from. You can click on it, and it should take you right to the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy, and then you can get onto a web, get on that site, and determine what it is. This site is wrong. There are currently 34 VIPP sites in the United States to buy pharmaceuticals. Do not buy off those sites that do not have VIPPS certificates on them, because you never know what they are. Suspect advertising. If the ad offers a generic form of the product when there's no such thing as a generic approved product by FDA, I'd be very suspect. The ad has misspellings or ingredients or misspells the brand name, look for it. If the ad includes foreign language spelling, you got a problem. The firm does not have a dedicated landline telephone number, you got a problem. Well, there's no telephone number in the advertisement, then you got a problem. But generic Evista, counterfeit from Mexico, it wasn't. At the time, Evista was patented the product, and there are no generics on the market. The ad doesn't list an address. The ad states that they are located outside the United States or list a foreign phone number. You get a real problem there. Let's talk about that for a second, because the only entity that can buy pharmaceuticals and import pharmaceuticals in the United States is a pharmaceutical manufacturer. It is illegal for a wholesaler, a pharmacy, a clinic, a doctor's office to buy drugs online. Strictly illegal. So be careful with that one. It's the only one that can do it are major manufacturers. That's all that can do it. The vendor does not hold a state pharmacy license. Check it out. This guy's offering you a drug. Does he have a license? Normally, every state board of pharmacy will have a listing of all their pharmacies, and you can go to the website and see if the pharmacy's got a license and a license number. A single product has multiple lot numbers. You should only have one lot number on it. The packages look worn, torn, faded. That means it's been diverted, basically. It just doesn't look like a new product. The labels are faded, especially near the expiration date. That could be because the expiration date has been changed. They take an alcohol or acetone and remove the expiration date and then added a new one. The package is missing overt markings such as the color shifting markings or raised printing or the hologram of the other products you got. So you can double check the packages itself. The tablet or capsule colors and size are different when compared to the authentic product. The product has a different taste or a feel to it. The person that finds the counterfeit drug product the most often is the patient. They'll say, this product doesn't taste the same. It says this product hurts on injection. This product stings upon injection. This product doesn't feel like it's on my tongue correctly as the older products have. You'll find all kinds of ways. This product's not producing the same outcomes as the other product is. Different strengths. We found a lot of counterfeit drugs with different strengths. They don't come in that strength in the United States. all of a sudden they're offering a 20 milligram and it only comes in 10s. So you have to ask yourself, what is wrong here? You notice a difference or lack of effectiveness of the drug. The drug's not showing what it's used for, and that's not useful in that outcome. You could have a problem. It could be a rogue website purchase drug. Look for a removed label. A tacky adhesive residue on near the label. When the labels are removed and replaced with a counterfeit label, there's usually an adhesive residue on the label. That'd be for somebody who wants to upcode the labeling on it. A discolored label, a solvent's been used to existing print and whatever it was on the label. And as I said, listen to patients. Most drug counterfeits are caught by patients. Listen to the complaints, difference in taste or feel, or whatever it happens to be. Listen to if the patient's progressing well as patient progress decline. And look for changes in lab tests or values that are worsening the patient, maybe due to ineffective fake medication. The first question I would ask them, if you think there's like that, is where did you buy the drug? Where did you purchase this drug? Sometimes they'll tell you, and sometimes they won't tell you. They'll say, I got it from a chain drugstore, or I got it from a website. And you can find out what website it is. So the Partnership for Safe Medicines, where I'm a president of, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to combating counterfeit drugs. We have over 50 consumer groups and associations, a lot of healthcare associations, practitioner associations. And I advise you to go to the website, safemedicines.org. You can find all kinds of information on fake pharmaceuticals on this website. It is an archive of a lot of good information. It documents how to protect yourself from counterfeit drugs, whether you're a practitioner or whether you're a consumer. I do believe that the United States is the safest distribution system in the world. We maintain drug integrity is a worldwide problem. It's really difficult and requires everybody to work together. But the United States is a target for counterfeiters and substandard products. Why? Because the demand for cheap drugs will not go away. It's not going to go away. You know, the prices of brand name pharmaceuticals are high, and so people are going to go looking outside the United States for a cheap product. I always conclude with this statement that fake drugs are not the same as fake handbags or DVDs. Fake handbags and DVDs don't kill people. Fake drugs kill people. People get hurt from them. You can buy all the fake Gucci bags you want, but don't go buying any fake drugs because you never know what you're going to get your hands on.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shepard. That was really very informative for us all to be able to look at, and that this is a major problem that we're finding out more and more each day, so this is very good. I'd like to be able to open it up to the audience for questions.
Here's a question. Do you believe the industry should go to product authentication at the consumer level?
That's being done in a few countries right now, where the serialized number is on the package and the consumer can enter it via his cell phone and authenticate the package. We may go to that, and it'd probably be up to the pharmaceutical manufacturer to do that. It's possible, especially for a lot of pharmaceuticals that are used at home and people are checking them out. I would think that very well could happen. I don't know what the reaction would be from the from the physician level or the nurses level or even from the pharmacist level, the clinic level, but I can see it happening. I don't have any problem with it at all.
Do you know of anything, well, when I worked in the international community, and of course the United States government is helping to support getting antiretroviral drugs in sub-Saharan Africa and other countries. Many of those drugs actually come from a specific manufacturer in India. And, I go back and I think about what it was like to go into these pharmacies and take a look at these drugs. I think it would be really difficult for anyone to really see whether it's the right one or not.
it'd be extremely difficult. Determine whether the drug is a fake drug or not is not an easy task, especially now what they're making. I think in that case, you really have to trust the supplier. You really do. And you don't want to move around from one supplier to another supplier. You want to stay with one supplier you really trust and you can work with it. How they happen to be.
Well,
That's would be my best advice for you on that.
Thank you. Thank you. The most frustrating part of this job, of this whole issue? Is it a government? Is it a policy? And really, how could we as nurses, if you could advise us, to what is it that we could really do to help with this?
Well, I think if you ever run across a suspect product, you report it. And I would report it to a couple, 3 people. Number 1, you can report it to MedWatch at the FDA level. Number 2, you definitely call the manufacturer of the authentic drug. Call them and report it. Because they have a whole team of data, team trying to figure this whole thing out. Probably the best investigators of counterfeit pharmaceuticals are housed in the drug manufacturers, whether generic or brand. And then I will also report it to the state health department and the state board of pharmacy that you reside in. But if we don't get the information out, if you think the product is questionable, get it out there and report it, because other people, other clinics may have the same question, but no one's reporting it, no one knows. So we have to get it out there so we report the medication. It's probably our biggest problem is we don't have any data.
Right, right. And from a policy standpoint, we often, we'll put out like a policy and also recommendations when we're interacting with our elected officials. Is there anything from that end that you can recommend nursing to do or else the nursing organizations?
I think I'd get active in supporting some anti-counterfeiting stuff. Right now there's a bill in the House, the Bennett bill, that's anti-counterfeiting, and I just got an email this morning about a hearing coming up on track and trace and what direction should FDA move in it. Should it be, mandate track and trace in the future? What that one's be. And then there's another one that looking in financing of these rogue websites and trying to figure out, is there a way we can cut off their funding? I don't know if you caught the news this last month or not, but Google was advertising, and a couple other websites were advertising. A couple of search engines were advertising the rogue websites which were distributing counterfeit pharmaceuticals. Google ended up paying a $500 million fine because they were doing it. So that's,
all right.
So it's kind of, yeah, go ahead.
You are very, very knowledgeable about this, and we so appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to a group of nurses to get this thing done. So again, thank you very much, and thank you for the participants for listening to us. And we look forward to more of these presentations in the future.
Thank you, Suzanne.